So, Bryce, I want you to stick around because I know you've got more information on SAD, and this time you're talking about those brought on by the pandemic. So the pandemic, many effects on a lot of us, and one of the most common is anxiety and a level of depression, Bryce.
Absolutely, Trace. And as we're talking about SAD, stress, anxiety, depression, a lot of folks who actually have never had depression are all of a sudden now really experiencing it to a chronic degree. But I only have happy advice. So let's stick to the solutions here. I'll tell you what this pandemic is doing to a lot of folks, though, is it's causing sleep interruption, changes in eating patterns. We're gaining a lot of weight. We've heard of the, COVID-15, maybe it's even 20 or 25 now. Worsening of chronic health issues, but most of all, worsening of mental health issues. So I entirely endorse what Stacey was saying earlier on about exercise. I'm also a huge fan of the Apple Watch. Want to close my rings like you every single day. It's great motivation. So exercise is key. So is that box breathing Stacey was talking about. So get that in every day. But from a nutritional perspective, you may want to consider some of the stuff I've got up here on the table. So chocolate, edamame beans. We're talking about this wonderful one called fava beans as well. And oats. What do they have in common? High amounts of tyrosine, L-tyrosine. That's an amino acid that in your brain will convert to dopamine. And Trace, you know that dopamine means feel good, right?
That's right, and we want to be able to feel good, but we'd love to be able to do it naturally.
Absolutely. And so another thing, you might not have heard of this one before, psychobiotics. Of course, you've heard of probiotics, and that's because that's really important for your gut, getting those good bacteria in there. But scientists have actually revealed psychobiotics, good gut bacteria that are actually supporting of mental health. So what you want to look for on the label of a good probiotic is Lactobacillus Helvetica. That sounds like some kind of a text font. It's not. Helvetica. And Bifidobacterium longum. Bifidobacterium longum. So look on the label. Doesn't matter the brand for those two types, those strains and species. And that's when you take that and it's good gut bacteria. The gut and brain are connected. So that's a really important thing to consider.
Now, I know you wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about alcohol and alcohol consumption because I think a lot of us have been looking to self-soothe. Do you have a word of warning or advice in that topic area?
Absolutely. So help.org, which is representative sort of North American trends, there's a new study out just recently that represents our substance abuse trends. And this is really alarming, Trace. So look, in North America, they found that many people have been impacted by drug and alcohol addiction. This is what the study reports as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. But here's some stats for you, too many for me to remember off the top of my head. 32% of those surveyed have or know somebody who's developed a drug or alcohol addiction problem due to the pandemic. Ooh. Also, 64% said the new addiction is a relapse of a previous issue that actually had already been resolved or fixed. That is horrible news. So here's my solution. I'm not going to banter at you about just stop. Seek medical advice. Talk to your family doctor. Be open about this. There are some, good drugs, and of course, psychology. Sometimes cognitive behavioral therapy can help. But from my world, Trace, check this out. Okay, this might help some folks out there. You can buy a tincture on Amazon, and you put this tincture in water. It's made from kudzu. Okay, kudzu plant, this is a weed that grows throughout the southern United States. So that's why it's super inexpensive. 1 dropper full. If I drink this in the morning, and then I also drink it in the evening about 30 minutes before I intend to have my drink. Get this, Harvard Medical School study showed a significant 50% reduction of the amount that one would consume without any enforcement, just drinking this tincture.
I wonder what that's doing to make you want to drink less.
So we don't know, but real quick, we assume that it's actually reducing your cravings. But by the way, I think cravings across the board. A lot of my patients have had good help with this. We don't know mechanism of action. We know it's a natural herb. We know that through the studies, there were no significant side effects. So when left at will, people drink 50% less by taking this kudzu tincture extract, Trace. So a lot of folks might want to try that.
That's really interesting. Okay, before we wrap up, do you suggest also people replace maybe the harmful behavior with something else? Because you are saying, you don't have to stop cold turkey anything, but maybe replace some of the things you're doing with something else.
Absolutely. So again, earlier on, our good friend Stacy talked about mindfulness meditation and box breathing. So this is key. So our brains really work on anticipation and expectation. So if while we're meditating on a daily basis for 10 minutes, we also implant this thought in our heads. We meditate around the idea that we expect to drink less. We see it, we visualize the fact that we only have two. Studies show actually does help some folks.
Okay, this is really good advice. I appreciate the information and the fixes. I think so many of us and so many of our viewers are just trying to latch on to something to get through. And you hope some of the choices we're making are the good ones so that we can stick with them when we get to the other side of this pandemic. Bryce, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now, all of that information is up on our website, that's cityline.tv. Take care of yourselves and check back on our website.